Hey, it's Johnny Magic from Johnny's house.
Look, we've got you covered with the hits and what's going on in the city beautiful.
And Mark, he's got everything you need to know in the sports world, with maybe a touch of sarcasm.
This is the Beat of Sports with Marc Daniels. All right, maybe it's just taking him in game 6. That's it. No big deal. Happy Thursday, buddy. Welcome to the Beat of Sports. I'm Marc Daniels. Chris Vasquez is over there. Magic fall to the Pistons last night, 116-109, 3-2 in the series. We'll do a deep dive into what took place last night with the Magic and Pistons. Got a game 6 coming up tomorrow at the Kia Center. Want to win at home anyway, right?
Yeah.
So team can win. Everybody goes downtown and celebrates. But how you doing, Chris?
I was good up until
I almost wore
Kelly.
that same.
Could have been matching.
That would have been awkward. I would have gone back home
Why?
or asked for like another shirt.
Why?
Because
Why don't you want to match with me?
Exactly. Anyway, how you doing?
We should color coordinate.
Not. Well, we're both wearing black Nike shirts today.
Is yours UCF?
No,
Ah.
from my account.
Oh.
Not available in stores. Anyway, how you doing?
I was good up until Kelly's little turnovers comment.
On the closing of Tony Roma's,
Yes.
a place for ribs. Chris didn't like Kelly's Tony Romo's.
Yeah. That was unnecessary.
Yeah. Tuesday is
What it is?
unlimited turnover night, huh? Is that it?
It is what it is.
Apple turnover.
Sorry.
Tony Romo's was a solid place. Like I just texted a friend of mine. Reliable, not pricey, there, convenient, not upscale. Go in there, get yourself a slab of ribs. You know,
It's been years since I've been
fries
to
or
Tony
baked
Roma's. When was the last
well, apparently
time
it is,
one was-
Chris. There's only 6 left without one in Florida, so it has been years. That's correct.
You don't know, maybe I went somewhere else to go to Tony Roma's.
That's true.
I
Well,
did
there's
not.
one in North Carolina. You used to live there.
Well, part of North Carolina, do you know? I was in Raleigh.
Of course, Mark, I think may have no, I got it right here. Durham.
Okay, not too. Yeah, it was right next to me.
You lived and didn't know?
I did not know.
Come on, man.
Sorry, Tony Roma's was not at the top of my mind.
I'm going to touch it here. This is great radio. I'm trying to see when the last one in Florida.
Oh, by the way, because someone commented on the post we made last night, the podcasts were down. It is back up. I will get the last 2 days up.
Oh, it's back up.
Yes, it's back up.
Oh, okay.
But can we stop? Like
Chris
We-
poured
we
a
mentioned it,
cherry
like-
high C into the machine.
we mentioned it, like what 3-4 times
But
yesterday.
people, I mean, as much as you think people listen start to finish, they don't. So, you got to serve the customers. So it's fixed.
Yes.
Okay.
So I will work on getting the last 2 days
Well,
up.
better people ask where it was and no one care.
I mean, I appreciate you caring, but again, we mentioned it multiple times.
So the last Tony Romo's in Florida was in Miami at Sunny Isles Beach. I actually know that location. Closed in 2020. I don't know the last one in,
In Orlando?
I guess the iDrive location in Orlando was the last to close in our area.
Yeah, on International Drive.
Yeah, Palm Beach was the last one, and West Palm.
There was one that closed in Winter Park, but that was way back in 2018.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, okay. Wow. Dining ain't what it used to be, kid.
No, it's not.
You're not going to be going to the Morrison cafeteria tonight anytime soon. Well, okay. On the program today, we'll get into the Magic and the Pistons. I mean, those two dudes were incredible last night. I mean, everyone in the Palo Tatum world, another tough night for you, huh?
Can I kind of gripe about something with just the NBA in general?
If it has to do with streaming, we're not going to do this again.
nothing like that. If you are a professional NBA player,
What happens if the extenders doing game 6 here? What?
no, if you are a professional NBA player,
Professional NBA player, yeah.
how are you not
Can we just
making?
say NBA player because you're a professional if you're an NBA player?
How are you not making at least 70% of your free throws?
Oh, because
No, there's no excuse to not make at least 70% of your free throws.
so what would you do with Shaq?
How do you not make 70%
You
of your
have
free
to
throws?
live sometimes. That's like saying, how come guys don't shoot 40% from three all the time? Just sit and work on it.
No, there's free throw line, one area. It doesn't move. It doesn't change.
Yeah.
There's no one guarding you.
Yeah.
70%.
Yeah. Well, the team didn't shoot 70% last night.
I know.
Okay, there are some players that don't shoot free throws well.
And I get you're going to have off nights, but it should not be that difficult.
No, Mr. Everything's easy over there, huh?
Not once did I say that.
Huh?
But still, 70% from the free throw line.
Let's see you stand in the playground on a Saturday morning and see if you can knock down a couple of free throws with that guy with a knee brace and a headband waiting to play. Think it's so easy? Huh?
No, you play.
And he sweats all over you because he insists on shirts and skins, and he's got that big foot back. Yeah, you tell me how easy to knock down a couple of free throws there, huh?
No, you play on the playground. You're not shooting free
Yeah,
throws.
he chest up and he doesn't move as you try to put your low post drop leg move.
Oh.
Yeah, yep. That guy was sweating when he left the house.
Oh, God.
Yep. No towel in the car either. Just sits in the car.
Just 70% of your free throws.
Not as easy as you think it is.
70%.
Not as easy
That's
as you think
7 out of 10.
I'm not telling you that you, as a team, shouldn't shoot better than that, but I'm just telling you. Not.
I mean, do you not
shoots.
work on free throws every day at practice?
Me?
Not you.
Yeah. But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. All right, deep dive of the Magic coming up. There's no reason to press a panic button. I also think someone's not coming back anytime soon. Cam Miller, his weekly football visit. We'll chat with him post-draft and a whole bunch of things to get to. First, everybody's favorite segment.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? One Forrest one.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CB's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great.
Mark, I'm so excited. All right. Pick number 1 or 2.
5.
So
One.
Okay.
1.
What kind of building weighs the least?
I don't know, Chris. What kind of building weighs the least?
A lighthouse. A lighthouse because it weighs less.
He's so proud.
It's a good joke.
right, so the Magic lose last night, 116-109. Full disclosure, I was calling a UCF game last night. And a baseball game, had the computer on, going back and forth, but I stayed up till after 2 this morning. I want to go back and watch some things. You don't press the panic button if you're Orlando, okay? You knew Detroit was going to come out physical early, try to make some plays, get the crowd involved. Cade Cunningham and Paolo were phenomenal last night. I mean, the beauty of many things about sports is when you get individual performances that you're like, I can't take my eyes off that. And as I was watching and taking a few notes last night for Paolo, you know what's frustrating about that? Because you say to yourself, so that's what that can be? Not 45 every night, but you're like, that can be a confident shooter coming off a screen or stop and pop, hit a three, head fake, go to the basket. And you're like, yeah, when that does things like that, that's one of the best players of the NBA. That is unstoppable. That you can't stop. And he played with such a level of confidence last night. And yes, he took a bunch of field goal attempts, but, and again, it's different when you're going through a game. And I'm taking notes. I think he took one bad three that you're like, I don't know about that, forcing. But otherwise, shooting with confidence, getting to the rack. He gets caught in a game with Cade where I think they're both like, you score, I'll score. So he was phenomenal. Early fouls of the Magic become a problem because it lets Detroit build that lead. Then offensive rebounds off of missed free throws for Detroit allow them to kind of get the physicality part of it going. And then they built enough of a cushion. But here come the Magic to come back and a match. And in that first half, there's nothing to complain about. The Magic are down 66-60. Things are a little bit easier for Detroit. Tobias Harris is getting more open shots. Azar Thompson offers nothing offensively. Duncan Robinson was better. He wasn't great. He does do a good job coming off screens, but he didn't kill the Magic for 6 or 7 threes last night. You didn't get the offensive game or the defensive game from Wendell Carter Jr. Jalen Duren was good. He wasn't great. He was good for them last night. Starting Jamal Cain over Tristan Da Silva, I get it. It wasn't the same as he gave the team in game number 4. The Magic didn't lose because Cain started last night. They got out rebounded by a ton. The offensive rebounds were big for Detroit. But despite all of that, and the Magic couldn't get that bigger run. It's just like every time they cut double digits, 11, 12, 13 down to 5, Detroit had an answer. And listen, that was their season, an elimination game. But there's a couple of really key plays that happened in the game. And this was one. The Magic are looking for a stop, and Cade Cunningham had Desmond Bane on him. And it was a big play for Detroit when they're trying to close out a basketball game, and all of a sudden they get the matchup that they want, and it was part of Cade's big night for Detroit.
Wow. Pistons in transition. Swing it. Cunningham. Wow, he is putting on a show tonight.
Okay, so he's hitting everything, and then you pick it up late, and the Magic are looking for a stop here to get the ball back in a one-possession game.
6 to shoot. Cunningham shaking bait. Cunningham fires.
He's got to step on the drive. Bane gets caught. Bane falls back, and Cunningham steps back and knocks down the shot. Okay, it's 114-109 at that point. And I get it. I watched it. I rewound it twice, 3 times. The foul called on Wendell Carter Jr. as he's setting a screen to block out 2 Piston players. If it's November 30th, I guess I can live with it. It's a tough call. Is he moving his shoulders? It look like, yeah, but man, that's a huge play at that moment. It is a massive play. Bane's coming off that screen, and he's got a great look, and the foul goes against Carter. 2-point game, 30 seconds to go. You're right there. The massive call at that moment. That hurts the Magic. And Detroit goes on and wins the basketball game. Jamal Mosley afterwards makes it very clear what had happened as he sits down and talked to the media last night.
Coach, what did you feel like the differences in that game were?
Free throws and rebounding. Free throws and rebounding.
Why do you feel like your team didn't have success at the free throw line tonight?
Got to step up and knock them down. I don't think there's any other way to put it. You could analyze it all you want. You got to step up with confidence, take your time at the line, and knock them down. We missed 14 of them tonight, and we gave them 14 in the first quarter.
What did you make of Paolo's play? Obviously, 45 points.
I thought Paolo was aggressive as heck. I thought he was trying to make the right plays at the right time, getting downhill, attacking the basket, getting to the free throw line, exactly putting pressure on the rim there. And that's part of the game. That's what we needed him to do. Put bodies down, his ability to attack and keep us in the game. I thought that was big time. Again, we'll go back to it again. This game came down to offensive rebounds, second chance points, and free throws.
What effect did the early fouls have on the aggressiveness?
A lot. You pick up 2 quick touch fouls and then you can't play as aggressive, and then you get a call where you're impeding progress, and there's grabbing and holding going all throughout the game. It's not there. It's not them. It's not them. If we got to the line, we missed 14 free throws. Now we can control the box outs. We can control the free throw line rebounding. We can control the 50-50 balls. So you can do something about that. So it has nothing to do with the calls made or not made. The ability that we got there is one thing. We got to knock them down.
He's right. By the way, Chris, 78% is the average NBA free throw shooting percentage for teams. Which means you got a bunch of guys that'll shoot over 80%. You got some guys that'll shoot below that, but 78% of all free throws taken in the NBA this year, 0.783.
Okay.
So look. That's a frustrating game because it wasn't a lack of effort again for the Magic. Paolo was phenomenal last night. I'm going to play a little bit off Chris's point. It is head-scratching, although I've seen it. Missed free throws become contagious. Like you're watching a teammate on the court, he missed a couple, and you're like, oh, man. Then you got fouled, and all of a sudden your mind just starts thinking, well, you're not supposed to think. Get the basketball, you lock into what you typically do, knock down the free throws, but it becomes contagious. I've seen it. We've all seen it in basketball games. You can't miss 14 free throws. You got to box out. You can't give up offensive rebounds on missed free throws by Detroit. That gives them second chance points, which Detroit did. The Magic had early foul problems. It led to a lot of free throws for Detroit early on, and they played with that cushion, and they won the ball game by 7. Wagner not playing is concerning. And if you take what he said, it certainly sounds like he's not going to play in Game 6. Magic haven't said yeah or nay, but it doesn't look like he's coming back in Game 6, and it also looks like they don't know when he's coming back, which is part of the ongoing frustration for him this season. It doesn't mean the Magic can't win game number 6. Clearly, and whenever we go, this team was more physical, it should be a given in the playoffs that you're going to be physical. But when the team that wins the game, you have to come up with reasons why they were more physical. How many times do you go, hey, they lost by 9, but they were the much more physical team? We never do that, right? Oh, they were the more physical team because they won. Detroit got a few lucky bounces and taps on offensive rebounds. Yes, it is effort in rebounding. And yes, you've got to be better. And yes, on the road, you got to be even better than that. It wasn't a lack of effort. And they didn't lose because Jamal Cain started. But not having Wagner is different for them. Jalen Duren was better. He wasn't great last night. Wendell Carter Jr. was not as good as he'd been in the first 4 games of the series. Tobias Harris was better for them. Duncan Robinson was better, not great. But they couldn't get over that hump when the Pistons played with that cushion throughout the fourth quarter of last night's game. And again, that call with 30 seconds to go, and I'm sure in the final 2-minute report, last 2 minutes, it'll say it was the right call. And you could argue and make the case that, yeah, the shoulder, he moves out, but not on April 29th, man. Come on. The NBA playoffs. But got to clean some stuff up. Can't miss free throws like that. I think you've told Jamal Mosley, you're going to shoot 30 free throws on Friday. He'll say, great, good. He's not anticipating his team missing 14. And all the other stuff about getting boxed out, yes. Because you can't assume Paolo's going for 45 tomorrow. You hope, but you can't assume. So, again,
Someone's Mr. Popular today.
uh,
Can I give a little gripe real quick about the officiating?
yeah.
At the half, there was 42 free throws.
Yes, there
combined.
was.
That's ridiculous. That's
Well,
ridiculous.
hold on. Why is it ridiculous?
It's like every little thing was being called.
Yeah, but
Let them play.
okay, I understand it. But when I'm back and watch, I don't think it was biased towards the team. I think they just called a lot of stuff that you
I
would
didn't say it
think-
was biased.
Right. No. And same thing like in baseball. Like you don't like the zone because it's wide. As long as it's for both teams, you can live with that. They called a lot last night. And part of it sometimes is it's who you get as a crew. And if they think it's chippy early on, the best way to calm that down is you call a bunch of fouls. And I think that's what they did. Now, it just so happens it didn't help the Magic, but he said guys in foul trouble early in the basketball game. And then you don't know what a foul is. So now you're not being as sharp defensively. A team like the Magic wants the, quote, physical side because you can get away with a lot. That didn't happen. I think that bothered the Magic early in the basketball game.
42 free throws at the half. Come on, that's
I
ridiculous.
understand, but it wasn't as if one team took 30, the other took 12.
It was what, 26-16?
Yes. But I still think that wasn't a mission. Like Scott Foster didn't come to play, like extend the series last night. The Magic just did some things that you can't do. Now, you got to come out and be more physical early. You got to make free throws. You can't give up offensive rebounds and second chance points. And now I think when the Magic left to go to Detroit, I think they knew Franz Wagner wasn't playing game 5. And I'm pretty sure they know he's not playing tomorrow night. So, do they start Kane again or does Tristan Da Silva start tomorrow night? Anthony Black played a lot of minutes last night, and he hadn't played a lot of minutes coming back from injury, but let's see how early that call goes for to put him out there. And again, to me, you don't panic because of last night. You knew Detroit. It's their season on the line, and they played better, and Cade was great, just like Paolo was great, because Orlando's done things to bother Cade like they did in Game 4. He did whatever he wanted last night. The Magic will look as they've done in 5 games because there isn't anybody on Detroit that could stop Paolo. Thompson is athletic, but it doesn't matter because the Magic will work the switch, and it worked last night. And then whoever they put him, it didn't matter. He had an incredible basketball game last night. And I know what their record in the play, I think it's 1-6 in the playoffs when he scores 30 or more. I got it. You want him to stop at 29 mid-third quarter? What? I can't score anymore. Because I come back and go, I think Jamal Mosley's 8-1 at home in the playoffs I'm playing.
If you're the
So
Magic,
you can go stat picking all day.
if you're the Magic, why not let Cade go for 50? Let everyone else beat you. Let everyone else try to beat you.
Okay, I understand, but I also hate when people say that. I don't want Cade Cunningham to score a single point, meaning you want to defend him well. No, you play good defense on him, and you got to make it uncomfortable for him. He wore down in Game 4. In the fourth quarter, he was a non-factor because he was exhausted. Why? Because people were all over him and they were doubling and made him have to do a lot more to get shots. He got free last night and had more, and he had some nice moves. I mean, the shot that he gets on Desmond Bane, he dribbles and stops, and Bane falls. He was a step behind, and he loses his balance, and Cade stops, and it's the mid-range jump shot. Well, really good players are going to do that, just like Paolo abused anybody that was on him last night. You need the offensive rebounding of Wendell Carter Jr. that you got at times in this series. Again, you got to fix some things, and it does start with free throws. It does stop with boxing out and giving up second chance points. Clean that stuff up. And they know right now that he's probably not playing tomorrow. So decide what you want to do to start the game, what the rotation is going to look like. And I think Anthony Black will probably play a lot of minutes again tomorrow night. So 7 o'clock tip coverage right here begins at 6:30. If there's a game 7, that'll be Sunday, time to be determined in Detroit. If you're the Magic, you hope to close this game out and get the victory. Cam Miller coming up in about 25 minutes. We'll do more Magic stuff a little bit later. We come back. I get some football things that I want to run by Chris. We'll do that next.
This is the Beat of Sports with Marc Daniels.
You can catch this program on 96.9 FM, 740 AM, the live video stream. You can access by going to our Twitter, 96.9 Game On, or the YouTube page, 96 The Game Orlando. Click on the logo and the live button and watch the stream. I don't know what's going to happen today on the streams. Be sure to check it out.
I don't have any more silly challenges for you. At least not right now.
The podcast, which many have been screaming about, that's not been available the last couple of days, is not because Chris forgot. Just we have maintenance going on, and it may not be fixed.
So I can't go back the last 2 days to put up the podcast, but starting today, the podcast will be back up.
Okay.
If you want to catch the last 2 days, you can go on the YouTube channel.
Go check out the video stream
and watch the video.
Okay. All right.
Don't worry, you still have the last 2 days.
It's okay, and I'd rather have people complain that they can't get it. But today you can get the podcast and, subscribe and get it downloaded as much convenient for you. All
exactly.
Right? We all good with that?
Thanks, Bill.
That's the Pittsburgh Penguins play-by-play announcer when the season ended for the Penguins. You got to give some balance to it. This is how it sounded on Philadelphia radio when the Flyers ended the series against the Penguins in overtime.
York again. Over the back by Michkov. Michkov gets it back across at the line. York with a shot. From the point of the Flyers winning in overtime.
God, just the way he said, they score.
That's exciting, right? That's exciting.
Compared to...
They score. Got it. Not all of it, but enough that it should have got across the line. It's Pilov's in desperation with a huge save. Flyers win the draw in the Penguin zone. Michkov far circle with 2.5 to play in OT. High slot, Cam York. Wrister, they score.
I'm visualizing. Ready, Chris? He says that line, puts the headphone down, and just leaves the booth. Like, I'm done. You guys handle post game. I'm out of here. I'm not sticking around for this stuff. I'm out of here.
That's great.
I'm moving on.
That's great.
What am I sticking around for? Not gonna be part of your misery. Leave me alone.
But misery loves company.
You know what you want, though. You want this.
Michael Walker going to put the chain in his back pocket.
Ejection of the batting coach for the A's of the umpire that's screaming, "What? I'm not listening to you. You're not worthy of my time." You know who I am? I'm a badge right here. You're gone.
What are you, like the 5th coach?
Wow.
I don't know why there's so many coaches in baseball.
Watch your basketball game. How many rows behind the team bench?
Don't get me started.
Okay.
Don't get me started.
So I want to do a couple of quick stuff on football. Okay. We'll do more magic a little bit later. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Eric K. Cabot's covered the Browns for a long time for the Cleveland Plain Dealer.
Well respected.
And she wrote, coming out of the most recent, whatever we call them, mini camp OTAs, that Deshaun Watson has the lead, which I don't even know what that means in these camps, has the lead for the starting job.
Not saying much.
And that the Browns and Tom Munkin wants to have his quarterback position pretty much resolved by the next camp in June. Which, by the way, what was the Shiloh Sanders tweet then? He told her what? To go to the kitchen and make a sandwich?
Go to the kitchen and make a sandwich.
Shiloh, not Shadar.
Shiloh Sanders.
Yeah. Which I told Chris, if she really wanted to have fun, she should have tweeted back, "This is the number for the Browns ticket office. If you'd like to go to a game, buy tickets, because that's where you can find me." But anyway, do you know how many football games Deshaun Watson has played since 2020?
Since 2028?
19.
Okay.
19. He's 9-10. Missed all of 21 and all of 25. And played 6, 6, and 7 games in 22, 23, and 24. I have to be honest. When I saw her tweet yesterday, I did the old, oh, that's right, he could still play.
Well, when you give him $260-some million guaranteed.
But for whatever reason, I'm like, remember we said, they drafted another quarterback, and you're like, yeah, Watson at some point was going to be able to play again, right?
Well, guess what? They're going to take another quarterback high in the draft next year, too.
But as much as he's not played and all of the reasons why, okay, you would think he would be better than Sanders to be the Browns quarterback if he had to play a game on Sunday.
Shedeur Sanders is not that good.
Right, but I'm just saying, despite the inactivity, you'd still think, I think he's whatever it means, Pro Bowler 3 times, but like, he's got I know all the issues, I know the injuries, but you would think he'd be better.
By the way, can we retire the phrases, let him cook, overplayed, and...
No, I say that in the kitchen when I'm putting together dinner. My wife says, how much longer? Honey, just let me cook.
Okay. What? That annoys me. And then that wasn't on my bingo card. Oh my God, that's so annoying.
Especially if you don't play bingo. I haven't played bingo in years.
Well, I didn't have that on my 2026 bingo card.
Yeah.
So annoying.
So that was the interesting story.
Retire those phrases.
About Deshaun Watson. Like, oh, that's right. Yeah. He used to play in this league. Huh. I know you don't want to talk about it, but can I ask you, I don't want to play the clip, but I'm sure you saw it. It went viral. Vrabel appeared at a season ticket holder event. Did you see the clip?
No, I didn't.
He appeared apparently at a season ticket holder event, and some gave him a standing ovation.
Again, football-wise, he didn't do anything wrong.
Can you skip the event right now, though? Do you have to have him there? It's
awkward. He missed day 3 of the draft.
Yeah, so you could skip the event. It's just awkward, and I don't know how it doesn't. How it changes. Like it's not awkward, but again, we're talking about Deshaun Watson possibly being quarterback for the Browns here.
I think the Patriots are just trying to show that they have his back. I guess.
I guess. This is SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, Paul Feinbaum show about the recent college football playoff meeting. He drops a couple nuggets here.
So I was asked on the way out, did you talk about like eliminating Tuesday ranking shows? We really did not. We talked about the schedule of those shows, but we did not talk about whether those exist or not. We had a brief conversation about format. Really understanding the timing of decisions that relate to the 2027 season. So by the end of November, I think December 1st is the actual date, we'd have to make a decision if we vary from 12. And last year decided to not vary from the 12-team format. I think those were the two kind of key issues. And, the discussion around bowl games. So there are some differences. It's interesting next year, the opportunity for the 1 seed to pick its path, the location of its quarterfinal bowl and the location of its semifinal bowl, and then the 2 seed to have a quarterfinal bowl option and obviously placed in the semifinal bowl. So we talked about those logistics.
That's new, by the way. Nobody knew that.
That's weird. What, you're going to let the 1 seed pick where they play?
Yeah. Yeah. Now the quarterfinal and semifinal and the final, the locations. So now you'll let the 1 seed say, let's just say Alabama's a 1 seed and, Atlanta or New Orleans, and I want to go there in the semifinals at Jerry's World, and I want to keep my travel light. So that was new. That I saw people report.
You like that?
Yeah, I'm okay. Listen, I believe fan bases in college football are challenged. I don't care how big these brands are. At the moment, we're still playing conference championship games. So you want people to travel to those locations and then turn around. And I know it's a few weeks, but still come on the road for quarterfinal, semifinal, and final. It only ends up being 2 teams. That's a lot to ask fans to fill 80, 90,000 seat stadiums. And I think if you can make it easier for fans to travel, then there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
So then why not just have, say, the quarterfinals at the higher seeds home stadium?
Well, there's a lot of people that would like that, but they're trying to preserve what we've known to be the, biggest bowls. And there are some that would like to see that scenario, that you have teams playing in their home field, but there's a lot of money that's involved there. Two other quick things. The news yesterday about the Big 12's private equity deal, it's a little bit misleading that people then ran with, and Ross Dellinger at Yahoo did a good job explaining, but Redbird and Weatherford Capital, which that Weatherford based over in Tampa, did finally strike a deal with the Big 12, but it's not true private equity. They take no ownership in the league. It's basically a lending arm. Okay, the league takes $12.5 million that they want to use for stuff, and it's a $30 million line of credit for any team that wants it. And I spoke to two different people yesterday, and they think maybe as little as 2 and possibly as many as 5 would take the loan, and it's the interest is just under 10%. So they take no ownership in the league, and it's a vehicle if you want to borrow money. So everybody that, oh my God, private equity is taking over. The structure of every deal is what is the story, and of this story, and this was known throughout the Big 12. They're not getting 20% of the league; they get nothing. Now, they do get a chance to, obviously, to pay interest to make the money back. And what I think will be interesting about this group is the future media deal, where they can benefit by that. And what will be interesting is the new media deal, which networks are involved in. Redbird does a lot of business with Paramount, who's CBS. And I don't know if it will happen, but Brett Yormark's talked about selling the basketball rights, not packaged with football. So there's other things going on there, but they didn't give up 20% of the league. It's not called the Redbird Big 12 or anything like that. And as far as I know, at least today, I don't believe UCF is taking the line of credit. I don't think that they want to take. It's there if you want it. And my guess is every other league will do something like it. But it's not like, oh my God, they just sold a third of the league to a private equity group. That's not what happened here. One other little nugget that caught my eye was Nick Saban.
Was he on a hot mic again?
Well, this is a reach. On Feinbaum said the following: one team should have a $40 million roster and another team have a $5 million roster, and they're out there playing each other. There should be some kind of, and he goes, every league, NFL, basketball, hockey, they have a salary cap or something that creates parity in the league, so everybody has an equal opportunity to win. Nick is a very smart man. He knows the answer to that. In professional leagues, it's collectively bargained with the players. It also is in the range of 30 to 32 owners that it's easier to agree on something as they're sharing with open books the revenue with each other. It is impossible in college football to get that model. You go, well, in a super conference, maybe someday. But with the number of schools that operate at the level you're talking about, and I'm just talking Power 4 here, it's impossible to get all to agree for the reasons we've talked about. Ohio State doesn't want guardrails. Texas doesn't want guardrails. They don't want salary caps. They don't want you to tell them how much they can or cannot pay their players. And Nick knows this. And even though he sings the same tune here, he understands why we're not going to get the system that he talks about that has a floor and a ceiling. Like the NBA, you have to spend X and you can't spend more than Y. We're not going to get that. And he knows it. And even within the Power 4, even within conferences, there's going to be a gap. There's going to be a gap.
So then what was the point of him saying it?
Well, he's being consistent when he's asked about what system you think works. And in theory, it's not his only. Of course it makes sense if he said, listen, you have to spend X and you cannot spend more than Y. But by the way, to do that, you have to report everything. No one's going to do that. In the National Football League, every contract is registered with the league. Everything. Your revenue is registered, completely audited. They're not going to do that in college football. Your biggest brands don't want it. They don't want rules. They don't want guardrails. They don't want caps. They don't want you telling them they can't spend $60 million on a roster if they want to. You say, well, that's not fair to the school paying $5 million. And they'll say, that's their problem. It's not mine. So it's a fantasy world that he talks about. Cam Miller breaks down the draft from last week next.
This segment is presented by Bowegan's Beer Company. Love data? Love analytics? Let's take a deeper dive into both as we talk to Cam Mellor.
What you know is very limited, and what you don't know is limitless.
The Chief Analytics and Data Officer at Pro Football Network. You can follow Cam on X or Twitter at Cam Mellor.
All right, busy week that was with the draft, and Cam Mellor joins us. First, did you go through a table of all the different stunts you guys did during the draft show? How'd all that go?
It went incredibly well. I did not go through the table. Our showrunner, who was actually the guy who was giving us all the fun props for night one, wound up being the guy that went through the table on the show. So yeah, the lutefisk, the horseradish from St. Elmo's in Indianapolis, it all was a glowing success. So historic numbers for us on our side, but a lot of fun too.
So let's dive into it. At what pick did you go, oh, that's interesting in the first round?
Honestly, I probably went, it was Jeremiah Love. I mean, we were told we were throwing positional value away for this draft class. But then to have a running back go 3 overall to the Cardinals, a team that seemingly had much bigger and needs across the other board, to draft Jeremiah Love, it makes sense where they're going, I guess. It's a new era out there. But then to see the Chiefs also understand it felt like there was differing strategies and structures for every single team. There was not one common draft strategy across all 32 teams this season.
If I told you in September Carnell Tate will go 4th in the draft, what would you have said?
I honestly, I probably would have said it's a little too rich for my blood. But then he did what he did this year, and I think all of our eyes last summer and entering last season were on Jeremiah Smith, and rightfully so. And then after he dropped those first 2 passes that came his way, I think we all shifted. But I mean, Carnell Tate quietly did what he did last year, or 2 years ago, and then last year put up what he was able to do. I do think that his deep speed is probably underappreciated in his straight line 40-yard speed. I think he is a true lifter at the NFL level. So interesting to see, and I hope the rapport with Cam Ward comes into play here.
Okay, let's get to the Dolphins and your thoughts on Caden Proctor. Now that their GM has said he's probably going to be a guard for them, he did the we like to swing guys around a little bit, and then also doing that with Ruben Bain sitting there, and clearly Bain thought he might be a Dolphin, but the Dolphins take Proctor, then the Bucs take him Bain at 15.
Yeah, it was what we thought was a questionable decision, especially where he was selected with, who was on the board. I think that's always a fun thing to look at the grades when you assess post-draft chaos. Obviously, grades are going to be always so fun to look at, but to me, you have to look at who was on the board. And yeah, Ruben Bain was sitting there as well. I don't think anybody else on their board was there. Blake Miller as a true tackle as well was there. So to me, I think Proctor had sort of signified early we're willing to move him inside. So it's nice to hear officially when it did come out, like, we're going to kick him inside. I think he projects better as a guard.
Do you take guards at 11?
No, 12, 11 right there. That's too high for a guard, in my opinion. But I guess they knew that the Ravens probably at 14 were targeting an interior offensive lineman. And so I don't know if they had the projection to move Proctor in, but so maybe that's why, instead of having to trade up and figure it out, maybe lose the guy you do want. It is rich at that point for me for an interior offensive lineman.
How about the Bucs and Bain?
I love the slip. The proverbial fall that he had to the Bucs as a family full of Buccaneers fans. That is the Mellor clan. We are very happy with Ruben Bain slipping to 15 overall. The guy does what he does at such a high level that it seems to be in the teens, probably the biggest impact player, in my opinion, in year one.
Why is the Ty Simpson pick smart by the Rams, and why is it a dumb pick?
It's a dumb pick because we just truly don't know what he's going to be. It's a smart pick because if there's anybody that's going to tutor and mentor him appropriately, I don't think there's anybody better for him and for his game than Matthew Stafford and for Sean McVay. For this to be an offense with those two guys who are going to mentor and tutor, put him under their wing, so to speak. I love the fit for him in the offense, and I love the teachings that he's going to get. It's just a matter of can he actually put it together behind those guys. But here we are talking about a first-round pick at quarterback that maybe we don't see him for 3 years, and that's probably best for his game.
Common Eagles fan down that says, look, we need a wide receiver, but this dude just seems wild for me and Mekhi Lemon.
I look back at every other previous interview we had with him before the combine and before his famous, he was very giddy to be there. Let's say that. He seems to be the normal kind of guy. And so to me, I don't know what happened with him this offseason, but there's a reason he won the Blitnikoff. It feels like a very different human being when he's on the field than what we've seen this pre-draft circuit. But the catch radius that he possesses and the route running, it's a full route tree. And so I like this pick for them. I know they needed him, and it felt like very much like they needed to grab him there. Otherwise, they were going to miss out on one of the top receivers.
Cowboys take Malachi Lawrence at 23. Nick Saban's hot mic thought it was a reach. Your thoughts when you saw the pick?
Yeah, it's probably one of those. That was where we started reaching for the proverbial traits. Maybe the Steelers at 12 or at 21 as well. Banking on traits about what we can get and can do. I do think that, Lawrence is probably a high-end designated pass rusher in year one. But obviously, if you watched UCF play this year, as clearly you all did, but he does a lot more than that. But, he needs to probably bulk up or get a little bit stronger to deal with some of those tackles and relying on some of his speed moves. I mean, the athleticism is there. So get him in an NFL weight room, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
What should a Dolphin fan know about their other first pick in Chris Johnson?
Guy who broke our grading system essentially for a cornerback. And so I know playing against lesser or inferior competition in terms of what those Mountain West quarterback wide receiver combos were. But I mean, we've seen the likes of Jordan Love or Romeo Dobbs come out of the Mountain West previously. So it's not like he was doing what he was doing against scrubs out there at San Diego State. This is high-level cornerback play in terms of how targeted he was, how often he saw the ball come his way, and how much he truly locked down. The skills to me translate over. So one of the better picks, in my opinion, of that back half of round one.
A lot of people are picking on what the Jaguars did for the picks that they had and where they took them. Some point to a young GM trying to play the game, I'm smarter than you. How do you assess the Jacksonville draft?
Yeah, round two's the head scratcher was their tight end pick, Nate Burkhardt. To me, a blocking tight end. We saw it and watched how many of these inline blocking tight ends went off the board. So maybe they're onto something, and they signified the change in how we're looking at and how we're grading some of these players that maybe have 30 career catches and 4 years of playing college football. It sounds crazy to do what a tight end is asked for. So to me, it's a bit of a reach, but if we're ahead of the curve, so to speak. The Albert Regis pick as well was sort of shocking. And then they did make amends with the Emmanuel Pregnon pick, a guy who was a people mover on the inside. So that's where I wanted to see my guard pick if I'm a Jaguars fan, but those first two sort of were head scratchers.
I know you're more fascinated by the third day as you take a look at how some teams did. Who had good second and third days in the draft?
I think, to me, the best second and third day was the Indianapolis Colts. If you look at where the board fit and where we had our positional rankings and even the consensus board across they didn't pick until 53, and yet they had 2 top 50 prospects. So whether it, sort of slid that way to them where they wanted to go, or whether they valued them and needed to stay, I loved what they did overall. Obviously, CJ Allen, one of those green dot players that Kirby Smart entrusted to call plays as a 20-year-old or 19-year-old sophomore. So to me, that guy fits in. That's a perfect spot for a linebacker. Head scratchers, though, probably the Minnesota Vikings. To go, their first day was also head scratching, and then they made amends with the Jacoby Thomas pick, but it sort of felt like they needed to go cornerback and safety often, and they didn't do so until Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin. So Vikings with some head scratching strategy, but it makes sense if you don't have a general manager.
Tell me, it could be first round or teams that did work in the second through seventh round of a player or players. You're like, whoa, that's a big reach, or man, that's a great fit.
Yeah, Carolina Panthers with Chris Brazzell, the wide receiver from Tennessee through Tulane. I believe his route tree is vastly underrated, so it feels like they did their homework on Chris Brazzell. I love the selection there, and then I'll stick on us in the third round with the wide receiver position. It was Davion Thomas to the Bears. I know that he did what he did with the 40, and he ran, and he's very fast, but we never saw his full route tree. So I'm very concerned if you're a Bears fan that you see this flashy number. It's not like John Ross reaching to the top of round one type of pick, but it does seem like there was a third round selection that could have been used elsewhere on the defensive line for this Bears roster than Davion Thomas.
Some raved about the Buccaneers pick of Ted Hurst at Georgia State. What should they know about him?
To me, he has the best chance to become a bona fide wide receiver one. And this is not just because of what he did at Georgia State. It's because of, what he puts on the field in the classroom at college, but then so you think that those skills translate to the practice tape, to facilities, to training, learning the playbooks. To me, I think the prototypical wide receiver one frame and speed and skill set at the catch point. So it doesn't quite have to be as well if that receiving room is healthy. But to me, I think he's going to become one of those guys who can develop that rapport with Baker Mayfield on the outside. Some of those back shoulder throws where he makes, it's not a 50-50 ball when you throw it to him. It's more like 75-25.
Another team people criticize of playing the worst smarter than you would be the 49ers. What'd you make of their draft?
That they were a head scratcher overall. Didn't pick until, traded back, made a couple of moves, didn't pick until pick one of night two, and to get DeJon Stripling, to me, a little rich when there was a couple other receivers on the board. Denzel Boston higher than us. Romello Height, we knew he was coming off the board, so don't hate that one. To be only the third team to select a running back as well, and so with Kalen Black, it felt to me like they had an overall middling grade on all of their picks. Some of them being reaches, some of them sort of a good value based on who was on the board. But it does seem like when we watched Kyle Shanahan, not so happy actually with some of the picks. That's where we were. It seems like there was a couple of reaches based on maybe one or two decision makers as opposed to the other way around, the whole team being bought in.
Other quarterbacks, it's interesting. Cade Klubnik, we thought could be a middle to high first-round pick before the season started. Garrett Nussmeier, same deal. The journey of a season makes it different. One's with the Jets, and the other is floundering in the 7th round. The rest of the quarterback class, from your view?
Yeah, baffling. I mean, we were told that Carson Beck was going to land higher than where we all projected him to be, so did not expect him to go where he went. But as shocking as maybe the Carson Beck selection is, we'll see how much he actually plays out there or what he learns out in Arizona. For Garrett Nussmeier to fall as far as he did, knowing that he was going to be one of those locker room guys, a coach's son, proverbial professional from day one, it was shocking to me. The fit for him, don't know necessarily if it's sort of a good fit either. It feels like Andy Reid and the Chiefs offense needs a little bit more of a creation or a creator at the position. So I don't necessarily know if I like the fit. And then for Cade Klubnik too, I mean, it's the quarterback class overall. I don't necessarily know if we like the landing spots for all of them across the board.
Any chance a quarterback is not the first pick of the 27 draft? And if it's not, who might be?
That's a tough one. There's two generational prospects. And so if it isn't a quarterback at number one overall, it's either Ohio State wide receiver Jeremiah Smith or Notre Dame cornerback Leonard Moore. These are two guys. You're probably a little rich as well for a corner off the board at number one. Jeremiah Smith being, there's no comp to Calvin Johnson, but it feels like that would be his level of impact he'd be able to make in the NFL, where a dude needs double teamed at the NFL level. So they both need incredible seasons, and then they would need the board to fall right, or team needs to fall very right for a team like the Raiders maybe to pick one overall, but for a quarterback not to go. But even then, I'd say they trade out.
Not just quarterbacks. Is the 27 draft class projected to be significantly better than this year, or slightly better, or when we all said and done, the season plays not much better?
I think it's going to be leaps and bounds better. I think if you looked at where we were with David Bailey and the one great college career at edge, Arvell Reese, it's sort of 1 year sample sizes of their highest level of play. We have Dylan Stewart and Colin Simmons at the edge. We have multiple tackles with these high level recruiting platforms that feel like they're on the cusp of breaking through. We have maybe 3 or 4 receivers that could be a top 10 when all is said and done as well. There's a lot to like about this class. And I think it's probably a combination of 2027 is very, very good, probably underrated at this point, and then 2026 is one of those middling, maybe lesser tiered drafts of the past 20 years.
Follow and support his work on X or Twitter at Cam Miller. Get the links to everything, and believe it or not, turn the page to 2027 and that draft class, but lots of leftover stuff to digest from 26 when you get to the site. Thank you. We'll talk next week. Always appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, always.
History lesson is back in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll get to that and much more, but the hour kicks off with the news next.
Let's really do the news.
Yes. Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
11 o'clock hour, WYGM Orlando, WJR, HD2 Cocoa Beach, as well as our live stream on our YouTube page at 96 The Game Orlando. We can catch us live. Magic fell last night, 116-109 of the Pistons. They still lead the series 3-2. A pair of 45s last night. Kate Cunningham put 45 up for the winning Pistons. Paolo losing everyone for 45. Some of the highlights of Paolo's night.
Minutes to go here in the opening quarter. Dirk has it knocked away. It's going to be a break opportunity. Banchero to the rim for the flush.
Oh, major mismatch here. You got to come and help early.
Banchero, baseline, it goes. Plus one.
He's trying to do this all on his own. I think they've got to think about coming to get him. Hit him with a double team early. Make someone else.
Second quarter. Banchero now facing Levert. Banchero, Euros, floats, and puts it in.
That is a big time move.
In the opening quarter, shot clock is winding down against Thompson. Muscles in and floats it home.
Well, we've said the same thing about Kate Cunningham tonight against smaller guys.
99-86 Detroit. Banchero gets the matchup with Levert. Banchero turns and hits.
It's too big.
45, the Magic fall, though. Difference last night, rebounding and missed free throws. The Magic missed 14 free throws last night. They were 16 of 30. The offensive rebounds, 16 for Detroit, including some on missed free throws by them that led to points. Second chance points were big for Detroit. They win it 116-109 to make it 3-2, after which Jamal Mosley, again, on the problems for his team.
Step up and knock him down. I don't think there's any other way to put it. You could analyze it all you want. You got to step up with confidence, take your time at the line, and knock them down. We missed 14 of them tonight, and we gave them 14 in the first quarter. You pick up 2 quick touch fouls, and then you can't play as aggressive, and then you get a call where you're impeding progress, and there's grabbing and holding going all throughout the game.
Again, a big call on Wendell Carter Jr. with 30 seconds to go that could have cut it to 2. He set the screen, really got 2 guys, and was he moving to the shoulder guard? Maybe, but interesting call. Game 5 of that series tomorrow night. Game 6 of the series tomorrow night here at the Kia Center. Tip is set for just after 7 o'clock. Elsewhere in the NBA, last night, the Raptors and the Cavaliers saw Cleveland beat Toronto 125-120. The Rockets go to LA, beat the Lakers 99-93. They'll play Game 6 without Kevin Durant. That's already been announced that he won't play for them in Game 6 of that series. The NBA playoffs continue tonight. Knicks try to close out the Hawks in Atlanta up 3-2. Boston tries to close out Philly 3-2 in Philly. And the Timberwolves at home will try to end their series against Denver up 3-2 there. 5 straight one-goal games in the Lightning and Canadiens series. And 4 of the 5 have been 3-2 games. The Canadiens scored early in the third last night, and they held on to win 3-2 on a crazy night in the National Hockey League. The folks at Live with news yesterday of the Saudi investment fund saying that's it after this year have reorganized their board. Gave no indication of shutting down, just bringing on new financial people. This looking interesting. In the meantime, agents for players scrambling to contact the PGA Tour, basically saying, tell us what it will take to come back. And it appears that the PGA Tour is not interested in giving the same sweetheart deal that guys like Brooks Koepka got. So that's making it difficult for some of the Live players because, that $100 million a year deal that if you're John Rahm and you didn't get it all up front, guess what's going away at the end of this year?
A lot of money.
Yeah. So the Live story is one to indeed watch. Your guy George Pickens signed the deal?
No, he signed the franchise tag.
Yeah. 27.3. I still think they may sign him to a long-term deal.
I hope so. I don't want to have to go through this again next year.
DeAndre Jordan is the Teammate of the Year award.
Huh?
I'm going to be honest. It sounds like an award you don't want to win. It sounds like an award that your teammates pick on you. It's the award for selfless play and leadership on and off the court.
So it's
if you're the community guy, then you win the NBA Players Like Community Award. When you go, hey, Hey, what'd you get? Oh, I won MVP. You? Oh, I was the sixth man of the year. I was the defensive player of the year. DeAndre, I was the teammate of the year.
That's like it almost seems like a cheerleader award. Like you don't play, but you're raw.
That'd be a great award.
You're the rah guy on the bench.
That'd be a great award. You can't average more than 4 minutes a game, and you can't average more than like 2 points a game to be eligible for best bench player. And the trophy is the old ML Carr waving a towel. It's just a towel's up and the guy's waving it because that's all you do. Or 3 up in the air when a
God.
teammate makes the 3.
Three in the
ice in the
vein.
vein. Yeah. That's the award. You want an award? Yeah, you don't play. Exactly. You have to average less than 5 minutes a game and less than 2 points a game, and I won.
And you can't play more than 20 games in a season.
Yeah. What'd you win it for? Did you see me in the towel all season on the side? Who's first in the quarter when a timeout's called?
No, nobody cheered harder than I did.
Yeah. It's a great award. That would be really good. Orlando City advanced to the U.S. Cup quarterfinals, beating New England 4-3, goal in the 92nd minute last night. So maybe something good going on there. Shohei Ohtani's the first pitcher since 1913 to open his season with 5 consecutive starts of at least 6 innings or more and no home runs. Show off. And no more than 5 hits in each start. The crazy thing about him is it's now, we don't even think anymore about, he bats and does that stuff on non-pitching days, and he pitches and he throws 100 miles an hour. We don't even think about it anymore. Like, whatever.
Well, it's the same thing with triple doubles. We don't think about that anymore.
I believe what Ohtani's doing is far more impressive than guys putting up triple doubles.
Can we stop putting random things together and saying it's the first time since this date that's happened?
What do you mean?
6 innings, no home runs, less than 5 hits.
You don't like the stat hunting thing?
No, like.
To honor the film's 30th anniversary, Space Jam will be in limited theaters.
Did you see the
on
popcorn
May
bucket?
20th. I did see the popcorn bucket.
It's nice.
It's a Pop-A-Shot style popcorn bucket.
It's badass. It is.
What are you, 7?
What?
When do you stop using terms like that?
What's wrong with saying that?
It's like, the 12 idiots in the box next to me last night in Lakeland. They probably use that
Do not
term
compare me to them.
9 times a game.
Do not compare me to them.
9 times an hour.
You're a jerk. Don't compare me to them.
History lesson coming up in about 25 minutes. Our good friend John Denton, who covered the Magic for many, many years, but now covers Major League Baseball. Do a little basketball, baseball stuff. We had John's thoughts, and because I know he watches, on the Magic and some baseball stuff next. Years ago, and for many years, our next guest covered the Orlando Magic for a number of years of late. He's covered Major League Baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals, and still does, covering MLB. And I enjoy catching up with my good friend John Denton once in a while. And today's one of those whiles. Good morning, friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I know from a distance you still watch the Magic and the NBA, and they're coming back for a Game 6 to try and close things out against the Pistons. From what you had a chance to watch, what do you see from a distance of a Magic team that had such an up and down year, John, that was so frustrating for fans and yet played great the first 4 games, even last night. Paolo was amazing last night, but they got a chance to knock off a 1 seed.
Yeah. You know, Mark, you had been proud of me last night. I had the Magic and Pistons on the 75-inch TV. I had the Cardinals going on the iPad. So, you know, I was watching a little bit of both.
There you go.
I mean, the way that Magic game started, I thought it was going to be a blowout. Like, it looked terrible. It didn't look like they weren't ready to play early on. The Pistons were obviously playing with a lot of desperation. But, you know, I give the Magic a lot of credit for hanging in that game. I mean, Paolo was having to drag the bunch all by himself, it seemed like at times. But, you know, I mean, the Magic have to go home knowing they don't give up 33 offensive rebounds. That's a hard number to even fathom. Pistons had 33 offensive rebounds, and then the Magic missed 14 free throws.
Yeah.
Clean up those 2 areas, they're going to win that game. And, you know, I think, you know, we all know that on the road, role players don't tend to play great. At home, they tend to play great. That's why you saw some of the Pistons, you know, lower guys play better last night. But Wendell Carter can't have 4 rebounds in a game. He had 4 rebounds last night. They got destroyed on the boards. If he goes back to playing the way he played in the last game in Orlando, I think the Magic need to go in this game thinking they can win this game. And, Mark, this is how old I am. I remember sitting on a couch in Birmingham, Michigan with Doc Rivers. 2003, the Magic went up 3-1 on the Pistons. It was the same deal. Pistons were the 1 seed. The Magic were the 8 seed. The Magic, you know, went up 3-1. Tayshaun Prince was switched to Tracy McGrady and changed that series. And I remember being in Detroit and Doc Rivers saying, man, we should have won Game 6. We're in trouble tomorrow. And sure enough, they were. And the Pistons won Game 7. So the Magic have to learn from that. They have to know they got to win Game 6. You do not want to go back to Detroit for a Game 7.
You weren't the reporter that twisted McGrady's words, were you?
No, I was not the one who did that. But, you know, hey, there were people back then who thought Tracy McGrady was selfish and maybe a ball hog. Tracy carried a very, very ordinary team that probably had no business even being in the playoffs to the 8th seed, and he carried them to a 3-1 lead over the number 1 seed. I mean, Tracy was doing all he could do. He was lighting the Pistons up those first 3 or 4 games, and then, you know, the tenor kind of switched. But, I mean, Tracy's a great, great player and one of the favorite guys I've ever covered in 30 years of doing this.
I do want to ask several baseball questions, but I do want to follow up on something because, again, you cover the Magic a long time, and I said this, and maybe the Magic close this series out. Sports can be a unifier in communities, and I believe it may go back to 2009, the last time this town kind of felt that buzz that every game was a big event, and you go anywhere in town, and you just kind of feel it. And you covered a lot of those teams, and obviously St. Louis, an incredible baseball town. But it is pretty cool when you get yourself with a team that gets the city unified. You get a 7-game series, and you can't wait for the next game. It's one of the neat things about any playoff run, isn't it?
It really is. It really is, Mark. I mean, it brings communities together. And, you know, I spent all winter in Orlando, and a lot of people, whether it was good or bad, we're talking about the Magic every day. And, you know, there were a lot of years where fans were kind of apathetic in Orlando, and that's more crushing than anything. Like, I'd rather hear them talking about how bad they were after that loss, that horrendous loss in Toronto, than just being apathetic. And, you know, I think Orlando's all on board. They like the potential of this team. Part of the reason Magic fans were so upset all year is because they thought they could be this. They thought they could be a team that would win in the playoffs. And, you know, this franchise hasn't. I don't think they haven't won a playoff series since 2011. So, you know, it's time to get over that hump, get over that hurdle, and win this thing in Orlando, because you do not want to go back to Detroit for a Game 7.
Let me shift to baseball, the sport you've covered for the last several years. ABS, if I told you 5 years ago we'll have this system, what would you have said? And now that we have it, How do you think it's gone in the first 25 games for this, about 30, 32 games for teams?
Mark, I would have said hallelujah. Like I'm in the get it right crowd. I know it's kind of a disruptor in the game from time to time, but let's get it right. Like I don't want to see Eric Gregg calling strikes that are 6 inches off the plate. C.B. Buckner, I think he had a game earlier this year where he missed 25 ball strike calls. They challenged 8 of them and got 6 of them right. We got to get it right. We have the technology. And it's kind of cool. Like I watched it for years in tennis. The fans get into it. There's a little bit of emotion, and when the computers prove the umpire's wrong, the crowd goes crazy. So it's like a 5-6 second burst of like anticipation, and then the computers show the umpire wrong, and the whole crowd like rejoices. So it's been kind of a cool addition in baseball. Not only are they getting it right, but it brings a little bit of intrigue into the game.
What do you make of what the Red Sox did after a 17-1 win, and to tell Alex Cora thank you, and everybody else too, a bit head scratching?
Yeah, I mean, even Jason Varitek, Lake Mary's own, a legend in Red Sox circles, got reassigned. So I think this was something that was building over time. The Red Sox had just been in St. Louis a couple weeks earlier. There was a lot of tension. They weren't playing well. The Red Sox fans were very upset with John Henry. Instead of like going out and, really spending a lot of money, they kind of halfway did it and got Sonny Gray on a cheap deal, and they got Wilson Contreras on a cheap deal from the Cardinals. And, they're not going out and pursuing the top talent. They let Bregman walk. So there's a lot of anger in the Red Sox system. I think Craig Breslow got rid of the others so people would stop pointing at him. Try to pin it on Cora when Breslow and John Henry are probably to blame for what's going on there this year. They're in last place in the AL East, and that doesn't go over well in Boston.
The Mets, John, shooting off fireworks down 13-2 in a game last night to an angry fan base. Not the wisest thing, and I can imagine the marketing team's like, should we do it? Yeah, do it. And it didn't go well on social media, but boy, the Mets a disaster.
Yeah, Mark, I saw something the other day. You could buy Mets tickets for $6, but if you went to Taco Bell, a Taco Bell Supreme is $6.42. So it was more expensive for
the Supreme could be good for those that like it, so it's worth it, John.
Yes, it was more expensive for that than to get into a Mets game, and the Mets just seem cursed. It doesn't matter what they do, it seems to backfire in their face. I mean, everybody in baseball could see that Bo Bichette can't play third base. Like he's been a second baseman, shortstop his whole life. Third base is a different animal. That's blown up in their face. Soto's been hurt twice. Peralta's been up and down, a guy they brought in. It just seems like whatever the Mets do, it kind of blows up in their face, and they try to throw money at the problem, and that doesn't seem to work. So, it's shocking that Carlos Mendoza still has a job there. He has to be looking around saying, how is Rob Thompson and Alex Cora been fired, and I'm still employed?
John, even though the Braves have a better record, the Padres are only a half game back, and I think the Dodgers and Padres might have the best rivalry in baseball, even better than the Yankees and Red Sox right now, not historically, but are the Dodgers good for baseball?
Yes and no. Everybody says they like the underdog, like in the NCAA tournament. Everybody loves the underdog, but the ratings prove out that fans don't watch when there's an underdog. Now, when there's a blue blood, when there's a Duke, Michigan, fans watching in droves. And I think it's the same way with the Dodgers. Like fans need a team to be hated. Like if you're in San Diego, they're like the big brother to you. The Dodgers are the big brother. You hate them. The Yankees lost the World Series to the Dodgers. They hate them. Everybody in the National League hates the Dodgers. They're going to be here this weekend in St. Louis playing 3 games. So, their payroll is not good for baseball, but them as being that juggernaut on top of baseball that everybody can gun at, when they lose, everybody will cheer. I think that's actually good for baseball, that part of it.
The Rays have new ownership. Everybody loves renderings, John, and everybody got all excited about a ballpark until someone said, all right, let's put pen to paper. Not as easy to come up with billions of dollars like the Rays want at a time that the Bucks are looking for money as well. I know you've been to the Trop to cover games over the years. What do you make of the situation with the Rays?
Mark, I go all the way back to the absolute first game. I was at that game. Wilson Alvarez on the mound. First ever game in Rays history, covering it. I'm thinking in my lifetime, the Rays have probably come out with renderings for a new stadium 7 or 8 times, but they always seem to get tripped up on the, okay, where's the money going to come from for aspect, and the renderings go away, you know, until they figure out a financing plan. They can keep coming up with all the renderings they want. You know, one time it was in Ybor City, one time it was back in St. Pete, one time it was in Tampa. Until they figure out who's going to pay for it, they're wasting their time and money doing all these renderings. They do have new ownership. Fans, city government, county government are more likely to rally under this new owner who gives them some hope as opposed to the last owner. But, you know, like I said, until they figure out how they're going to pay for it, renderings just don't matter.
I think baseball's had tremendous momentum the last several years. The ratings back that up, pace of play. We added ABS, incredible young stars, and yet people keep telling me that enjoy it because the lockout is looming. How can the individuals that run this game stop the momentum? And do you think it's highly likely that at the end of this season we have a lockout that delays or maybe even cancels a part of 27?
Yeah, Mark, it's coming. It's ugly. Those inside of baseball know it. They know that the game is thriving right now. It's doing great. Great World Series last year. But, you know, ugliness is coming. Now, what I've heard, there was a Hall of Famer that I talked to who said, I would be shocked if they play one game next year, that it's going to be one of those knockdown, drag-out, ugly battles. Here's the issue. There's about 5 owners who want to keep it exactly the way it is. There's about 5 owners who could care less. And then there's 20 owners who want to burn this thing to the ground. They want a salary cap. They want cap on all salaries, player salaries, and they're not going to budge. You can't have the Dodgers spending $425 million and the Marlins spending $68 million. Like, you just can't have that in baseball and expect it to ever survive. There's 20 teams that go to spring training with no chance to win whatsoever. So they need a salary cap, but yes, they also need a floor that makes the Pirates and the Marlins and the Twins, teams like that makes them spend money. That would be better for more players in the league than a salary cap would be bad for the Bryce Harpers and things like that. So I'm afraid it's going to be ugly. Like I said, I would kind of be shocked if they play a game next year. I think it's going to be a long, drawn out, ugly thing that's really going to hurt baseball as a whole.
He's on X or Twitter, John Denton 555. If it's a familiar voice, it's good to have him back and catch up. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. We'll do it again soon. Keep in touch.
Sounds great, Mark. Thanks for having me. Take care.
John Denton still has that basketball in his blood. You know that. You cover the team as long as he did. You know he's following and everything. And John's done a great job covering MLB and the Cardinals for years up in St. Louis. And good to catch up with him. Not a single game?
That's crazy to me. So we're barely through maybe a quarter of this season. We've known for how long that a potential holdout or lockout is looming in 2027.
2 to 3 years.
So we've known for 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
And we still can't figure this out.
Yeah, you have to understand, though, just like in the NBA, not so much in the NFL, but the NBA, hockey, and Major League Baseball, it is not really players versus owners. It's not. It's owners versus owners. It's big market groups like the Dodgers, okay, and the Yankees, okay, but the Dodgers, Steve Cohen and the Mets, fighting with other owners that say, I'm not doing this system anymore, that you can just spend whatever you want to spend, pay whatever stupid tax we've come up with here. We have to break the system down. And you have the players standing over here, there's the Scott Boras group and his clients over there that are like, we're okay with it. And they watch the owners fight amongst themselves. And the players are like, well, when you guys figure out what you want to do, here's our number, give us a call. Now, the players' leadership's been a mess with Tony Clark and all that, but it's an owners versus owners. And John is right. There's the extreme of the wealthy people. There's the Marlins, and even though the new ownership of the Rays says they're going to spend money, they're part of the group as well. They cannot survive under the current system. That's the fight. And when they figure it out, and it's just like, I don't want to go too long here, it is just like college football you and I talk about. Why would the Dodgers want any change to the system? Why? They simply don't care. They print money greater than the U.S. government does. because they're making so much of it. Okay? Same deal with the Yankees who don't spend as much as the Dodgers, but they're not broke. Why do they want to change the system? Well, it should be for the good of others. We're long past that. The NFL did it and convinced people we operate together. That's why it's the machine that is. But in baseball, it's the owners that fight.
You want to do a show at the end of the show? We can keep talking.
All right, we'll do that if you're on the stream. And then we got the history lesson when we come back in the Beat of Sports.
So again, you can't sit at a table, lock yourselves in a room. 2 to 3 years, you've known this is coming.
Yeah.
Is it really worth, oh, we don't want to change because we're printing money hand over fist, or you just have a lockout where you're not making any money?
Well, there is on the live show side, there is issues that the owners have with the players on pay. Now, they've lost, kind of like the NCAA loses. They lose all the time when it comes to collusion. But I'm telling you, it's an owner versus owner fight that has led to where we are. Now, they do want to stick it to the players. They do want to change a lot of the financial system, and the players are going to do what they do. They're going to hold the line. I think it's a bit extreme, as John Denton said about they'll play no games. But I do think there's a very strong chance the 27 season doesn't start on time. The problem from a public standpoint is the World Series is going to end in early November. What are we in the middle of? Football season. I'll see in February. The fan has no reason to care until you go, oh, wow, I bet pictures. Oh, that's right. They're locked out. And then if it gets to the end of March, when college basketball's done and we don't have spring training, and then you're going to get people like, oh, how long? And they're going to play this game till somebody blinks.
Again, this is maybe just me simplistically thinking, but it doesn't seem that hard. I get the Dodgers, they have their own money. They're paying everyone gobs of money where the Pirates,
deferring contracts and everything that Ohtani's making $2 million a year this year.
Where the Pirates, Rays, teams like that, the Marlins, they're not paying anyone. Maybe come up with spend a minimum of X. Don't really have to have a maximum. Don't have to have like a
but see, that's a problem though. But that okay. So you own the Marlins. Okay. People say, well, you should spend money to get players so that people will buy tickets. Okay.
If you own a team, why are you not spending money on your team?
Wait. But the point is, the numbers don't work for me to play in the same league dollar-wise that they're spending and making. And say, well, too bad you bought your team and name the last team that sold for less than the owner bought. But the point is, I can't compete in that market because you're allowing them to spend whatever they want. If you somewhat cap what they can spend, okay, fine. And small market people like the Rays and Marlins, they want more from the Dodgers and Yankees and Cubs and Red Sox. Hey, give us more of the revenue. And they're saying, screw you. My ballpark, my ticket, my media deal. I don't want to give you anything. It's just like college football.
But they're still playing in the same atmosphere of the Dodgers can still spend whatever they want. There's just no floor. There's no minimum that you have to spend.
But you have small market owners that don't want the Dodgers to have the ability of spending whatever they want. They're sitting there going, they're going to spend whatever they want. And I can't, like at Pittsburgh, that ballpark I've never been to for a game. That ballpark is said to be one of the top 5 ballparks for all the amenities and sightlines and everything. There's just so many tickets they can sell to generate X amount of dollars that they'll never be able to compete. They can't keep players because here are the Dodgers that are going to go grab somebody. Or when the Red Sox, Yankees used to sign guys, and they're telling you, I can't keep players.
But again, what is Pittsburgh Pirates ownership known for? Being cheap.
Okay, but Chris, somebody does the math that says if we sell these tickets, this is what we make, and if you spend this is what we're going to lose. That's the argument. They want to change that system. They don't want to sit there and go, if I sell out my stadium, I still can't compete with what they're doing because I don't make as much. I can't keep players. I'm not as competitive. I can't charge what they charge for ticket because that's not the economics of my city here. So let's come up with a system where they're sharing more revenue. There's a cap that they can't spend more. You have the players going, we don't want a cap on dollars. Don't. So that's the dynamics of why it's not just players versus owners. It's owners versus owners, and then it's owners versus players. And just like in college football, you can't get the big schools in the Power Four to agree to a deal because you have some that don't want rule changes. The Dodgers don't want anything to change. They'll tell you that we love it. It's great. What's wrong with the system? And you're like, because 2/3 of the team can't compete. And baseball, by the way, will argue and go, look at all the small market teams that make the playoffs. And they're right. But you have a major problem among the owners.
So again, if there's a lockout, then it's doing nobody any good.
Well, you scare people now to go, hey, I just don't think. And then you hope that when the year ends that they truly are serious about sitting down and maybe they'll get a deal done. I'd be stunned if they missed all of 27. Would they miss a portion of it? Yeah, maybe.
This is a horrible negotiation tactic.
It happens all the time.
Stupid.
Happens all the time.
Stupid.
All right, we're going to do a history lesson coming up.
All right, boys and girls, take a seat and listen up as we take a trip down memory lane with Marc Daniels in this week's history lesson.
Sometimes you got to step out of your comfort zone when it comes to sports. You may not like certain sports, but once in a while you should do something to maybe try and experience, even if you don't become a fan. If you've never been to a NASCAR race, like, I can't stand NASCAR, you can still have an appreciation for the experience. Of course, I'm not a big NASCAR fan, but many years ago, when I attended my first race at Daytona, I was just in awe of the sound, of the power, the racing teams, the strategy. And again, if you never care about NASCAR, you can still appreciate the sport and what goes into it. Horse racing is not very popular in this country. It once was. In fact, you go back a century ago and 80, 90 years ago, boxing, baseball, and horse racing were the three biggest sports in this country. I've been fortunate to go to the Kentucky Derby as well as the Breeders' Cup at Churchill Downs. And it's an experience that you should take in. Now, not everybody gets hang out at Millionaires Row like I may have done one time, Chris. But anyway, even if you don't watch horse racing, just for what is a major event, because the Kentucky Derby is indeed that. And when they run the Kentucky Derby early Saturday evening at Churchill Downs, it'll be another unique event. And most people that attend the Kentucky Derby never step foot in a racetrack again the rest of the year, and some maybe never again for the rest of their life. And while the industry has its challenges, and there's no question a post-COVID world of horse racing has seen a decline in popularity, in the money involved, although the growth of sports gambling has brought some of that back. But the history of the Kentucky Derby is also a very interesting one. It was started by Meriwether Lewis Clark. If you're thinking Meriwether Lewis Clark, that's right, the grandson of the famed Lewis and Clark expedition explorer William Clark. Traveling in Europe in 1872, he was inspired by England's Epsom Downs racecourse, which was in immaculate condition. The grass cut as you could ever imagine, just perfect. Every shrub was carved out in almost a majestic type look. After spending some time at the Epsom Downs racecourse, he returned to Kentucky, had the idea that he needed to mimic what Europeans were doing when it came to horse racing, which had been around for quite some time, as had been around in America too. But he founded the Louisville Jockey Club. Now, the idea of creating something like the elite clubs in Europe had. And with that, the Jockey Club helped raise money to build a racetrack with land donated by his uncles, Henry and John Churchill. Yep, there's a long line there when it comes to that name. That land became known as Churchill Downs, which opened its gates in 1875. The track itself and the structures have changed many times over the years, but the foundation for America's greatest racetrack and what they had in mind began to develop. The first Kentucky Derby happened on May 17th, 1875, and it wasn't easy to pull off because as word spread about an attempt to put on this unique American race, I should say, the top horses weren't exactly keen on coming across to America to take part in this race in Kentucky that they were trying to make out to be something really, really big and important. In 1875, though, the effort was put on to put this big race among the best horse races you can find. The Louisville Jockey Club, along with the Driving Park Association, raised money to help build the track and to put out a purse. The winning horse would make $2,775, not exactly the biggest purse that one could come up with. Even back then, some of the European races were drawing purses of $40,000, $50,000. But Lewis Clark wanted to make his special race just like he saw the Epsom Derby, as we would say Epsom Derby over there. And coming back and convincing people to see his vision, they planned for that first Kentucky Derby. It was run at 1.5 miles, the same distance as the Epsom Derby back then, and the biggest race in France. The crowd said to be that day just over 10,000 people to arrive for the first ever Kentucky Derby race. It didn't have the same drama, didn't have the same excitement. The press wasn't as big in covering this race in Kentucky, but it did take place. And from there, the goal was to make it even bigger if they could. And they did so over the years. Some of the press began to cover what was said to be this unique American event that brought people from not just the Louisville area, but those from other areas to come and watch this race. And over the years, racing at Churchill Downs got bigger and bigger and better. And as that word spread, horse owners and breeders began to bring some of the biggest names in the industry to Churchill Downs. The track became known as one of the best in the world. The softness of the dirt, the barns to house the horses, also gained popularity among those in the horse racing industry. And the event continued to grow. In 1915, Harry Payne Whitney began to ship his highly regarded filly Regret from New Jersey to compete in the Kentucky Derby. And she became the first filly to win the race. That gave the Kentucky Derby even more recognition in the racing industry. Regret's victory came 4 years after Sir Barton became the first Triple Crown winner in 1919, as the Triple Crown was being formed of those three great races. And over the years, Churchill Downs has hosted some of the greatest horses ever. 1973, Secretariat's incredible start to the Triple Crown with that performance of the Kentucky Derby that to this day still is remembered. Of course, the famed race in the Belmont. Traditions have grown over the years as well. At Churchill Downs, television coverage began to really peak in the 1940s and 50s. Local TV coverage and national coverage as well. And then the traditions also. The mint julep, which was not started at Churchill Downs, but a drink among the socialites. Things like Chris would drink. You know, a tasty mint julep. Huh? You're a mint julep guy?
I don't mind a mint julep.
The mint julep, by the way, the history of that dates back to Spanish drink lore and also in American history back in 1770. But when you say mint julep to people, they think of the Kentucky Derby. The infield is famous at Churchill Downs, this big, massive area that tomorrow will have probably 80,000, if not more, just in the infield. Then the crowd that's in the grandstand and in the Millionaires Row, which also became famous as a place to be seen and heard. There's also the term Run for the Roses. A blanket of 554 roses is awarded to the Kentucky Derby winner each year. New York sports columnist and former Churchill Downs president Bill Corum in 1925 described the horse race using the term roses, and the idea of giving ladies roses on Derby Day was a tradition as well. Now, it is the dream of every owner and jockey to have that bed of roses be placed on the horse. Riders up is the famous name or the famous term used when jockeys get aboard their horses and come out to the special singing of My Old Kentucky Home. And the fastest 2 minutes and the greatest 2 minutes in racing, or greatest 2 minutes in sports, was also a term that grew over the years as well. And it's true, the TV ratings aren't where they used to be for the Kentucky Derby, but a large crowd will watch tomorrow. It'll be the most wagered horse race every single year in the industry. And tomorrow, Saturday, the horse is going to win a Kentucky Derby and be famous, even if they never race again. Winning the Kentucky Derby leads to incredible breeding rights. Some continue to race with the goal of winning a Triple Crown. Over the years, Churchill Downs has gone through a number of makeovers. Most recent, a few years ago, now builds one of the most elaborate clubhouses you'll find in the horse racing industry. It's kind of interesting, though. If you go to the Kentucky Derby on a Saturday, it's a big major event. If you go to the following Thursday for racing, it's a mostly empty track because the Derby week and the Derby day is hyped up for the obvious reasons. There's still something unique, though, when 20 horses go into the starting gate, and even the longest shot has a chance to win because it's happened before the Kentucky Derby. Some horses that are favorites get pinned to the inside, never get a chance to win. Some get caught in traffic. Some get clear down the stretch and become part of racing history. So if you ever had a chance and the bucket list gives you that moment to get to Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby, do it. But he's a guy who had an idea of seeing a race in England and said, I want to build something that becomes America's biggest horse race. Years later, it's still the biggest race in America. And someone's going to become a Kentucky Derby winner and be part of horse racing history on Saturday in probably just over 2 minutes' time. That's today's history lesson. Back to put a wrap on the Thursday show next.
Time for the latest news, gossip, trends, and off-the-wall stories. Trends.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
So the Mets were down 13-2 and shot in-stadium fireworks, part of a promotion off last night, and the crowd was just irate.
I would be too.
I said to John Dent, can you imagine the marketing team like, oh, we're supposed to do it next half inning. Should we? No. Well, our boss said to do it, and it's in the script, so we do it. Huh? Just an uncomfort feeling of when that goes, right?
That's
Just like,
rough.
oh, right? Bad. John Wall, the former NBA player, is the GM or basketball operations president for Howard University. So he takes on that responsibility there. And that's about it. What else you got?
Oh, what am I doing today? I don't know what I'm doing today.
No?
I don't think I have any issues or any plans.
This little tendonitis thing is really ticking me off here right now.
Your knee still bothering you?
It's the back of my knee. I can't, I got no spring. I got to walk. I can't run. Wife's like, you got to go to the doctor. I don't want to go to the doctor. I love my doctor, but I don't want to go to the doctor.
Stop being stubborn.
I was just at the doctor for the allergies and the throat thing.
Now you got a knee thing.
The hypochondriac. Oh, look who's back again. Got nothing else to do on a random Wednesday. Hang out at the doctor's office. Yeah, may have to, though. I got no lift. I got no spring on the back of the knee. It hurts there. So, all right.
I had to convince my wife to go see the doctor. She ended up having a partial tear in her shoulder.
Well, was she there a few weeks before?
No, I had to convince her to go.
Walk in and be like Norm at Cheers. Mark! Tomorrow we'll get set for Game 6 of the Magic and Pistons. If you missed any of today's program, it'll be available in podcast form. Go where you get your favorite podcast, Time for the Beat of Sports on demand. If you missed the last 2 days and you want to go back and listen or what, you got to go to the stream and get that. You can always get the replay of the show by going to our YouTube page. So plenty of options to follow the show. Chris, have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.
You too, Mark.
Chris produced. I'm Marc Daniels. See you tomorrow for the Beat of Sports.